meet Hien, our main girl. She's on the phone, assuring someone that she's taking a shortcut and will arrive within the hour. The conversation takes a turn when the caller reminds her it's their anniversary. They question her decision to invite their close-knit group of friends, hinting at the possibility of a proposal. Unbothered, Hien playfully tells them to record it if it happens. But even if it doesn't, she says she misses everyone, it's been too long since they've all hung out. The caller agrees, even if it means they'll be the third wheel. Then, everything shifts. While driving, Hien spots something shocking: two men on the side of the road, one seemingly lifeless, the other desperately crying for help. She has seconds to decide, stop or keep driving. She stops. Just as she begins to ask if she should call an ambulance, darkness engulfs her. Everything goes black and we are left wondering what just happened. As Hien slowly regains consciousness, a sharp, pounding pain crashes through her head like a relentless drumbeat. She struggles to focus, but the first thing she hears sends a chill down her spine: the voices of those two men, deep in conversation. One is contemplating their next move, while the other casually suggests burying her. Her heart pounds as she realizes she's on her knees, trembling. Desperation takes over. She pleads for her life, offering her car, her money, anything to avoid becoming their next victim. The one with the shovel scoffs, remarking that she clearly doesn't understand her situation. Without warning, he yanks her head up, the cold metal of the shovel still in his grip. Desperation spills from Hien's lips as she blurts out that she only stopped to help, pleading for mercy. She swears she saw nothing, but the weight of the looming threat presses down on her. The man calling the shots delivers a chilling order: don't make a mess with the blood. Panic crashes over Hien as she lets out a desperate scream, her voice raw with fear. She clings to the only chance she has, addressing them as brothers, begging them to see sparing her as an act of kindness. Her voice shakes as she confesses she's an only child, desperately pleading for mercy, but the moment shatters when the other man suddenly yanks her by the hair. Without hesitation, he slams her against a tree, a brutal impact that sends pain shooting through her body. He leans in, his voice eerily calm as he urges her to cooperate, promising a swift end if she does. As Hien winces, he flashes a sinister grin and calls out to his brother, Jie, the one in charge. With an unsettling smirk, he mutters that it's a shame to kill her so soon, revealing with a twisted chuckle that it's been a month since they've had a woman. Hien can't believe what she's hearing and instinctively covers her mouth in shock. The guy in charge, Brother Jie, shoots his companion a warning glance, telling him to cool it, reminding him they're on the run, and now is not the time for games. Desperate, Hien pleads for her life, promising she'll do whatever they want if they let her go. Sensing an opportunity, the other guy pulls her close, assuring Brother Jie it's just temporary fun and won't interfere with their plans. Jie, uninterested in the discussion, decides it's time to move. He lifts Hien without hesitation. The third man, who was about to take his turn, steps back when he sees his brother's determination. A chilling silence follows as they carry her away. As they walk, the second guy chuckles, mentioning how lucky Hien is, his brothers happen to be in a good mood today. The way he says it makes her stomach twist in fear. He pulls her along, clearly enjoying himself. Thinking fast, Hien tries to stall, suggesting they do whatever they're planning inside the car. A desperate attempt to buy time. Once inside, the second guy leans in, telling Hien to stay calm and everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Hien forces herself to stay composed, reminding herself that this isn't the moment to fight back, she needs to survive. Then, she remembers the pocket knife she was given earlier. Images of her family, her parents, and Yuan Zhe, flash through her mind. She can't die here. Heart pounding, she slowly reaches for the knife. Then, in a bold move, she leans in and kisses the guy. He stiffens in surprise, completely caught off guard. Seizing the moment, Hien strikes, plunging the knife into him. A desperate act of survival. Outside the car, the third guy starts to grow suspicious. It's been too quiet for too long. But before he can react, the engine roars to life. Hien grips the wheel and slams her foot on the gas. Brother Jie steps in front of the car, trying to block her escape. The third guy lunges forward, desperate to pull him back. But it's too late. Hien doesn't stop and with a sharp swerve, she sends them both flying. It's a thrilling escape as Hien takes control and uses the car to get away. Adrenaline courses through her veins as she speeds away, her heart pounding. She drives as far as she can before finally pulling over in an empty lot to catch a breath. Her hands tremble violently as she fumbles for her phone and dials Yuanze. Her voice shakes as she recounts what happened, begging him to call the police. But just when she thinks she's safe, Brother Jie somehow finds her. He smashes through the car window, sending shards flying everywhere. Before she can scream, his hand clamps over her mouth, cutting off her breath. Her entire body goes rigid as he leans in, his grip tightening. Fast forward to the next scene, Hien gasps awake. Her chest rises and falls rapidly as she blinks, trying to ground herself. It takes a moment to register, she's not in the car. She's in bed. Her husband notices she's sweating and asks if she had a nightmare. She admits she dreamt of a man trying to kill her. Her husband soothes her, reminding her that the man in her dream was shot dead 3 years ago. There's nothing to be afraid of, he assures her and says breakfast is ready, suggesting she freshens up and join him. As she steps out of the room, Hien's mind drifts back. 4 years have passed since that horrifying night, yet the memories remain vivid. Standing at the sink, she splashes cool water on her face, hoping to shake off the lingering unease. But as she looks at her reflection, she admits that sometimes, when she's half asleep, it still feels like she's trapped in that nightmare. While brushing her teeth, her husband strolls in, casually offering her options for breakfast: orange juice, milk, or coffee. She opts for orange juice with a grateful smile, thinking to herself how lucky she is to have Yuanze. No matter what challenges come their way, she believes they can overcome anything together. Later in the day, she adjusts his tie as he reminds her it's the first day since school reopened. He offers her a ride, but she politely declines, not wanting the students to think she has a personal chauffeur. With an amused smile, he happily agrees, playfully calling her his great wife. 3 years have passed since they moved to Nanjiao City after her marriage to Yuanze. Even her parents decided to settle nearby, embracing a fresh start. It feels like the right time to leave behind old memories and focus on new beginnings. After graduation, Hien became a chancellor at Nanjiao University. Life has been smooth, and her career is thriving. With both her personal and professional life in harmony, everything seems to be falling perfectly into place. In her office, a student named Su Qingbo steps in, his expression filled with concern. He tells her that Yu Jia never showed up for the class meeting. He adds that even her roommate mentioned she hasn't returned, and all her belongings from the previous semester remain untouched. Taking charge, Hien reassures him that she'll look into it. As she picks up the ringing phone, she gestures for Su Qingbo to return to class. The caller on the other end informs her that she needs to move her car to the basement because a private bus requires the space for the day. She simply responds, "Okay." Driving down to the basement, she takes note of how dimly lit the new parking area is. Glancing at her mirrors, she scans her surroundings, an inexplicable unease settling over her. Sweat beads on her forehead as she wonders why she suddenly feels so anxious. Stepping out of the car, a shiver unexpectedly runs down her spine, the cold seeping into her bones. Puzzled, Hien wonders if she somehow missed an announcement about all vehicles being relocated to the basement, as hers seems to be the only one there. Just then, a man steps out of his car and approaches her, asking for directions to the foreign language department. A chill grips Hien as a buried memory resurfaces, the haunting voice whispering, "Bury her." Her blood runs cold. She recognizes that voice. Her heart pounds as she instinctively recoils, warning the men to stay away. In her frantic attempt to flee, panic clouds her movements, and she stumbles, hitting the ground hard. The man removes his glasses, his expression laced with concern as he asks if she's all right. But fear surges through her, and she screams, emphasizing that they are in a school with security cameras monitoring the parking area. He quickly tries to reassure her, explaining that he means no harm and that if his presence unsettles her, he will leave immediately. Scrambling backward, Hien forces herself onto her feet and takes off in a rush. Meanwhile, the man, Fu Xingxing, spots something on the ground that appears to belong to her. Picking it up, he instructs his bodyguard to wait in the car. Racing up the steps, Hien dials Yuanze in a panic, telling him the man has come for her. Yuanze, taken aback, insists that it's impossible, reminding her that Shinjijia was executed 3 years ago. He reassures her that they even delayed their move to Nanjiao City until after his sentencing to put the past behind them. Her breath still unsteady, she insists that the man looks exactly like Shinjijia, his voice sending a familiar chill down her spine. Concerned, Yuanze asks if she's near any students or teachers, advising her to stay where people are while he comes to get her. She hesitates before nodding, forcing herself to calm down. After all, she reminds herself, this is a school, perhaps she's just overreacting. Inside a classroom, Fu Xingxing is drawing plenty of attention, students eagerly gathering around, snapping photos, and whispering about how attractive he is. Some wonder aloud if he's a student or perhaps a new professor. Observing the scene from outside, Yan steps into the room, questioning the students about the commotion. At that moment, Fu Xingxing turns to her, greeting her as Miss He. With an apologetic expression, Fu Xingxing explains that he is Yujia's cousin and has come to help with her school withdrawal process. He expresses regret if he unintentionally alarmed her earlier, adding that he isn't sure what went wrong. As a peace offering, he holds out her key, mentioning that she had dropped it in the parking lot earlier. Yan hesitates before thanking him, though she refuses to take the key back. Instead, she decides to confirm his story by calling Yujia. Dialing the number, she introduces herself as Miss He, and on the other end, Yujia apologizes, explaining that her doctor recommended she withdraw from school, so she asked her cousin to assist with the paperwork. Though the situation remains unsettling, Yan reassures Yujia that everything is fine before casually inquiring about her health. Glancing at the men beside her with a wary side-eye, she reminds herself that it's impossible. The real criminal is already dead. There's no such thing as someone returning from the grave, and yet, despite the uncanny resemblance, something about him feels different. Returning the phone, Yan informs Fu Xingxing that there's still more to be done. He needs to complete an application form, and the hospital must provide a medical diagnosis along with a proposal for the suspension of studies. Stressing the importance of Yujia's signature on the form, she hands it over, explaining that once he returns with it, she'll ensure it reaches the dean's desk. Fu Xingxing requests her mobile number for convenience when he submits the form, but she suggests he contact her office instead. He nods in agreement and expresses his gratitude. Realizing he has yet to properly introduce himself, Fu Xingxing smoothly retrieves a business card from inside his suit jacket and hands it to Yan. With a calm demeanor, he acknowledges that there may have been a misunderstanding and encourages her to take a look at his credentials. Glancing at the card, Yan notes his name. She thanks him for making the effort to come in person and politely offers to see him out. Fu Xingxing, noticing her unease, hesitates before asking if he resembles someone from her past, someone who may have harmed her. His words show an understanding of the fear she carries. Later, as Yan sits in the car, her husband reassures her, urging her not to overthink the situation. He suggests they check with Officer Cheng to clarify things. Without delay, they head to the police station, where Officer Cheng welcomes them and invites them to take a seat. Yan expresses her gratitude before getting straight to the point. She brings up the case from 4 years ago, specifically mentioning Shinjijie, the criminal Officer Cheng captured. Seeking confirmation of his execution, she asks if he recalls the details of that case. Without hesitation, Officer Cheng responds with a firm "of course." Yan apologizes for the abrupt visit, explaining that she encountered a man earlier who bore an uncanny resemblance to Shinjijie in both appearance and voice. The unsettling part was that he seemed to seek her out deliberately. What disturbed her most was the familiar, uncomfortable way he looked at her. Sensing her distress, Officer Cheng urges her to stay calm. He reassures her that he personally handled Shinjijie's interrogation and signed off on his execution. However, he reveals an unexpected detail: the man donated his corneas before his death. Still shaken, Yan insists that the resemblance is too strong to ignore. Her husband suggests that Officer Cheng verify the man's identity to be sure. She quickly grabs a pen and paper, managing to jot down the address and birth date she had glimpsed. Taking the paper, Officer Cheng returns with a photo. He acknowledges the resemblance but points out subtle differences in the jaw and brow, details only a seasoned officer would notice. He also mentions that the man's demeanor was distinct from Shinjijie's. As he walks them out, Officer Cheng reassures Yan that if she sees the man again, she should contact him immediately. That evening, over dinner, Yan shares her plans to pursue a PhD. Yuanze smiles in support, suggesting she could quit her job if needed. But Yan worries about the financial strain. Yuanze gently caresses her cheek, reassuring her that he can provide for them and that she should chase her dreams. Ever ambitious, Yan insists she wants success on her own terms. With a chuckle, Yuanze playfully pokes her nose, calling her his silly girl. He teases her, asking if she aims to be an academic or a tycoon. Their laughter and light-hearted banter continue into the bedroom, but their moment is interrupted when Yan's phone rings. It's a call about one of her students. With a sigh, she realizes she'll have to make a late-night trip back to campus. Hien rushes to the address provided, only to find it's not the university but an office building downtown. Confused, she follows the receptionist's directions to the 23rd floor. Knocking hesitantly, she steps inside and introduces herself to the woman waiting. Thanking her for her patience, Hien explains she was called regarding her student. The woman recounts how she had ordered a delivery, only to realize her phone had vanished before she could even eat. When she called it, the ringing came from inside Chengbo's bag. Upset, she now seeks Hien's guidance. Chengbo adamantly denies stealing it, insisting he has no idea how it ended up there. Hien apologizes for the trouble but vouches for his good behavior at school. She suggests that perhaps there has been a misunderstanding that needs clearing up. Clearly frustrated, the woman interjects, stating that this is exactly why she reached out to his teacher, because he is still just a student. Upset, she questions whether Hien truly believes she would falsely accuse him. Losing patience, she orders security to call the police, declaring that she refuses to waste any more time arguing with a habitual offender. In a sudden outburst, Chengbo claims that the woman had tried to seduce him first. Before he can say more, she erupts in a fit of rage, shouting indignantly at his ridiculous accusation. At that moment, Fu Xingxing enters, inquiring about the commotion. The woman immediately turns to him, addressing him as President Fu and complaining about Chengbo's refusal to admit his wrongdoing. Taking a seat, Fu Xingxing glances at Hien and asks if Chengbo is her student. Hien affirms that he is, explaining that he shares a class with Yujia and vouching for his good character. Fu Xingxing, after a moment of thought, says that if Chengbo is her student, he will allow her to take him back. Grateful, Hien thanks him sincerely before making a graceful exit from the tense room. At the elevator, Fu Xingxing catches up to invite Hien to dinner the next evening. She accepts politely, suggesting that she treat him as thanks for his understanding. Chuckling, he replies that a meal is just a meal and asks if she finds him intimidating. He clarifies that the dinner would primarily be to discuss matters related to his cousin, Yujia. Flustered, Hien explains that her husband dislikes her dining alone with other men, calling it pettiness. She offers to still treat him but suggests a location near campus since she needs to handle Yujia's withdrawal paperwork. Accepting the compromise, Fu Xingxing agrees and tells her he will wait for her call. On the drive back, Chengbo earnestly insists that he never lied about what happened. He explains that he was merely delivering food when the woman suddenly accused him of theft for no apparent reason. While Hien believes in his innocence, she sighs, acknowledging that the fact he was so easily framed reveals a carelessness on their part. She reflects that some people harbor sinister intentions, and they must be more cautious moving forward. Concerned for her safety, Chengbo asks about her dinner meeting the next day, offering to stand guard outside just in case. Amused yet touched by the gesture, Hien reassures him not to worry and tells him to focus on his studies after class. Encouragingly, she suggests he reduce his workload a bit and promises to help him secure a scholarship next semester, expressing her faith in his abilities. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Chengbo thanks her profusely, calling her the kindest woman he's ever met. Laughing, Hien playfully ruffles his hair and reminds him not to overpraise his teacher too much. Keeping the tone lighthearted, she jokingly warns him not to fall for her just because she's wonderful. After all, she's married. Chuckling, he retorts that she's far too narcissistic for his taste and that he doesn't go for older women anyway. Back at home, Hien is greeted warmly by her husband. Spotting his suitcase, she asks if he is traveling for work. He explains that his boss just assigned him to an urgent overseas trip to Z country, starting early the next morning. He assures her that he'll be leaving before she wakes up, so she can sleep in. Later that night, as she lies in bed, Hien privately debates whether to mention her upcoming dinner with Fu Xingxing. Deciding that it's harmless, she considers waiting until her husband returns from his trip before bringing it up. The next day, while working on her laptop, Hien finds herself puzzled by the enigmatic Fu Group conglomerate and its elusive owner. Despite her efforts, she is unable to find even a single photo of him online. Frustrated, she remarks on how little information exists about the men. Considering whether to call Officer Cheng, she ultimately decides against troubling him with unrelated matters. Instead, she calls Mr. Fu directly to arrange a meeting at Relax Day, a restaurant near campus, that evening. Upon arriving, Hien takes comfort in the lively atmosphere filled with students. She notes the high-traffic location and the clear visibility of the road from where they are seated. Spotting Mr. Fu, she approaches and thanks him for his patience. He mentions that he has already ordered a few dishes he hopes she will enjoy. Smiling, Hien acknowledges his thoughtfulness but playfully insists that she should still be treating him today. As they settle in, Mr. Fu gently broaches the topic, asking why she seems so wary of him. He encourages her not to dismiss the question, pointing out that her behavior suggests she harbors a deep-seated fear of him. His curiosity is piqued, prompting him to seek an understanding of the reasons behind her apprehension. Hien hesitates before opening up, explaining that years ago, she had a traumatic encounter with criminals who bore a striking resemblance to him. The incident left a lasting impact, and when she saw him, it triggered those buried fears. Apologizing, she expresses regret for any discomfort her reaction may have caused. In response, Mr. Fu acknowledges her feelings and takes responsibility, offering an apology for unintentionally frightening her. Hien confesses that, despite being happily married now, the past still lingers in her mind. She admits that she occasionally experiences nightmares from that period, hoping he understands the weight of what she went through. Mr. Fu listens intently, observing that Hien's life appears to be filled with happiness, adored by her students, thriving in her career, and surrounded by love. He acknowledges her achievements but contrasts them with his own, noting that as the eldest son of the Fu group, his life is primarily consumed by work. Unlike her, he lacks the warmth of personal connections. He shifts his gaze outside, reflecting on the nature of the city, describing it as a cunning entity that sleeps by day and awakens at night, luring people in with its dazzling lights. He muses that when one least expects it, the city can consume them whole, trapping them in its darkness forever. Hien silently counters the thought, acknowledging that while this perception may have been true in the past, modern cities are bright and bustling, filled with kind-hearted people. She wonders how one could remain lost in darkness if the conditions that once fostered evil no longer exist. As the clock strikes 10:07 p.m., Mr. Fu finds himself intrigued by their conversation. Hien expresses her gratitude, teasingly asking if he met her just to flatter her. With a slight smile, he apologizes, admitting that he got caught up in their discussion and momentarily forgot his original purpose. To make amends, he retrieves a small gift box, explaining that it is simply a token of appreciation for their previous encounter. Mr. Fu insists that Hien accept the small gift despite her reluctance. Assuring her that it is nothing significant, he encourages her to open it. To her shock, she uncovers a photo of the very criminal who had terrorized her years ago. Reeling from the revelation, dizziness overtakes her, and she collapses, the glass and gift box crashing to the floor. In her hazy state, a troubling thought crosses her mind: had her drink been drugged? Casually continuing his meal, Mr. Fu inquires if she likes his gift. Struggling to stay conscious, Hien manages only a whispered help before succumbing to the darkness. When she awakens, she finds herself in an unfamiliar room with Mr. Fu standing nearby. He remarks that she regained consciousness 30 minutes earlier than expected. Her head throbbing, still disoriented, Hien looks at him with confusion, barely able to process the situation. A trembling question escapes her lips: was he human or a ghost? Smirking, he responds with amusement, commenting that even a woman as intelligent as her would ask such an obvious question in a moment like this. Trying to grasp her predicament, Hien shakily asks if he intends to kill her. Letting out a low, eerie laugh, Fu Xingxing muses that 4 years ago, her chances of dying might have been much higher, but now, that option is off the table. Still reeling, she urges him to talk things through calmly and rationally. But Fu Xing only scoffs, questioning what there could possibly be to discuss. Instead, he proposes a game, suggesting they both simply move forward. He lists off her accomplishments, her education, her stable career, her loving family. Doesn't she already have so much? Even a devoted, capable husband. A sinister edge creeps into his voice as he suggests that it might entertain him to see how far he could push her, how much it would take to transform this virtuous, innocent woman into someone far more tainted. As if on cue, 3 men enter the room. Heart-pounding, Hien instinctively grabs a nearby knife, brandishing it with shaking hands as she warns them to stay back. Unfazed, Fu Xingxing challenges her, questioning whether she truly believes she can defend herself. If she can, he invites her to come forward and prove it. Ignoring her desperate pleas, the men advance. Hien trembles, the cold steel of the knife gripped tightly in her hands. But they remain undeterred, closing in on her. As they seize her forcefully, panic consumes her, and she plunges headfirst into a waking nightmare. Thrown onto the bed, one man restrains Hien while another forcefully removes her wedding ring. As they release her, she sobs, pleading desperately for them to stop. A third man records her humiliation on video, capturing her vulnerability. Overcome with despair, she turns to Fusheng, begging him to just end it by killing her. Fusheng coldly reminds her of his promise, not to take her life. When the men finally leave, he returns, remarking on how photogenic she is before casually asking if she still intends to go to the police. Terrified, Hien whispers that she wouldn't dare, knowing the compromising photos are now in his possession. Fusheng lays out the rules of his game: she must respond whenever he summons her. Nervously, she interjects, asking if disobedience means the release of the pictures. But Fusheng dismisses the idea, saying it's too troublesome to deal with additional photos. Instead, he hints ominously that she will soon accompany his clients, implying that a married woman like her might have a particular appeal. His chilling words leave her even more horrified. As the night deepens, he instructs his subordinate, Jiang, to take Hien home. Before she is rendered unconscious, he warns her one last time: going to the police would be something she would deeply regret. When Hien awakens the next morning in her own bed, the first thing she sees is her phone screen flashing with 11 missed calls from Yuanzhe. Heart racing, she tries calling back, only to find his number disconnected. Her hands tremble as she hastily packs a bag, her face drained of color. In the taxi, she continues frantically dialing his number, but each attempt fails. Upon arriving at the police station, she spots a female officer and immediately calls out for Officer Cheng, her voice growing hoarse from panic and desperation. The officer calmly urges her to take a deep breath and explain herself. But Hien, consumed by fear, screams at the top of her lungs, Shenjijie is alive, and she needs to see Officer Cheng immediately. A grave expression crosses the officer's face as she delivers devastating news: Officer Cheng was in a fatal car accident the night before. His car collided with a truck, and he succumbed to his injuries on the spot. Stunned, Hien struggles to process this new horror. Cheng Bo's framed incident, Officer Cheng's sudden death, Yuanzhe's abrupt and unreachable business trip, was this all just a coincidence? Or was there a larger, more sinister force at play? As the officer asks if she's all right, she turns away, her body trembling with the weight of everything unraveling around her. Seeking a moment of solitude, Hien locks herself in the bathroom. The sound of running water drowns out her quiet sobs as she clenches her fists and pounds the wall in frustration. Just then, her phone rings. Glancing at the screen, she sees Yuanzhe's name flashing on the caller ID. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, she presses the answer button. Yuanzhe's concerned voice echoes through the phone, asking Hien if she went to bed early since he couldn't reach her last night. He explains that he missed her calls this morning because of a meeting. Anxious, he asks where she is now. Still shedding tears in the bathroom, she replies that she's at home. Sensing something is off, Yuanzhe gently asks what's wrong. She insists it's just a flu bug. He reminds her to take care of herself, but she only says she wants to hear him comfort her. Apologizing, Yuanzhe tells her he's swamped with another meeting but promises to call her later. The call ends, leaving Hien crying alone again. Suddenly, her phone rings. It's Fusheng. Shocked, she abruptly stands up. She quickly reassures him that she didn't tell the cops anything, but then accuses him of planning to abduct her from the restaurant all along without her even realizing it. He went so far as to have someone impersonate her returning home that night. Why go through all that effort? Then, it hits her, he knew she wouldn't actually be able to call the cops successfully. Sitting on her couch, she starts recording their call. Fusheng sounds amused, saying he'd love to see her face now. He finds it entertaining, imagining her thinking she has something over him. She directly asks if he took out Officer Cheng just to get back at her. Casually, Fusheng asks if she's recording them, saying it's pointless. Her family's safety, he reminds her, depends on her full cooperation. Isn't her mom calling her right now, enjoying a cruise with her dad? Maybe she should take that call. Hesitating, Hien contemplates the precarious situation her parents are in. Finally, she accepts the video chat. Their familiar, beloved faces appear on the screen, momentarily grounding her amidst the chaos. Her hands tremble, nearly dropping the phone before she tightens her grip. With a strained smile, she urgently pleads for them to stay vigilant and stick to crowded places. Her mom reassures her not to worry, they're already on their way home. The signal cuts out briefly, but before the call ends, her mom promises to catch up properly once they return. She picks up Fusheng's call again, pressing him about his promise that her family will remain safe as long as she cooperates. Boldly testing him, she asks when this twisted game will finally end. Coolly, he replies that it will be over when he grows tired of it. As a chilling reminder of his control, he instructs her to address him as Fu Xing from now on. Ominously, Fu Xing then remarks that her doorbell is about to ring. Right on cue, she opens the door to find a delivered package. Inside is an elegant dress and a note. She is expected to meet some of his guests tonight. In the next scene, a car pulls up, delivering Hien to the venue. Stepping out, she is adorned in the beautiful dress sent by Fu Xing. As she exits, her eyes lock onto him. With a subtle gesture, he guides her toward him. Hien nods in silent agreement, conceding to Fu Xing's terms that she will be returned home once the evening's proceedings conclude, all without her family's knowledge. His casual remark about her attire catches her off guard, but she manages a smile, accepting it as a compliment despite the circumstances. A man soon approaches, and Fu Xing addresses him as President Zhang. Introducing Hien, he describes her as a teacher from Nanzhao University. President Zhang eyes her with interest, remarking that she is pretty but seems to be missing something, leaving Hien slightly puzzled and uneasy. President Zhang then instructs a young lady to style Hien's hair. In the dressing room, the woman working on her hair curiously asks for her name. However, Hien remains silent. Attempting to engage, she asks about President Zhang's preferences and hobbies, but the woman does not respond. Realizing the futility of her efforts, Hien decides to let it go, recognizing that she can only rely on herself. She mentally wishes herself luck as she prepares for whatever awaits. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. President Zhang strides in, exclaiming how Hien looks like a goddess. 4 other men follow behind him, all gazing at her with admiration. One of them chimes in, agreeing that she is the most stunning among all the goddesses. Another nods approvingly, praising President Zhang's impeccable taste. Lifting his bottle, President Zhang laughs and declares that once he finishes his drink, he will be taking the goddess inside. Before he can say more, Fu Xing quickly interjects, reminding him that he should hurry. After all, Missy's husband will be home tomorrow. President Zhang remarks, "Oh, she's married," as he pulls Hien closer. Fu Xing quickly advises him to be delicate and cautious, reminding him they wouldn't want to cause any trouble between the couple. In her mind, Hien realizes Fu Xing likely knows about Yuan Zhe's arrival tomorrow and deliberately chose today to humiliate her. She asks President Zhang if they can change the venue, not wanting others to witness the scene. In a whisper, she hints that they won't even need to pay after watching. Panic rising, she discreetly fumbles inside the belt of her dress, searching for a hidden object. Suddenly, the room falls silent as one of the bodyguards seizes her, demanding to know what she's looking for. Defiantly, she opens her palm, revealing a small item, and questions Mr. Fu, asking if she can't even use this for self-protection. President Zhang lifts her up, declaring that she's well prepared, and he seems to appreciate her resourcefulness. In her thoughts, she acknowledges that Fu Xing intends to torment her, just like a cat playing with a mouse before the final strike. He wants to witness her despair, but she is determined not to grant him that satisfaction, even if it means facing severe consequences. The hairstylist's warning echoes in her ear, urging her to exercise extreme caution around Zhang, emphasizing that he is a pervert. 30 minutes later, Hien frantically rushes out, leaving her shoes behind and tossing her hat aside as she bursts into the bathroom, where she begins to vomit. Meanwhile, Fu Xing stands by the door, observing her silently. He remarks, impressed, that she must have some tricks up her sleeve to have escaped the sadist unscathed. With a casual shrug, she downplays it. Dying is as simple as hitting your head, after all. Fu Xing agrees, but notes that's exactly why he won't kill her. It's too easy. Turning to him, she reminds him that years ago, she had spared his life when he pretended to be dead in front of her car. Yet now, despite that past kindness, he wants her dead. She points out that she killed his brother in self-defense, and asserts that she owes him nothing. When Fu Xing questions whether she's trying to reason with him, she denies it casually. One can't reason with a beast, after all. With a bold stride, she seizes his tie and kisses him unexpectedly. Caught off guard, Fu Xing shoves her away in disbelief, labeling her insane. Unfazed, she gazes up at him from the floor, a sly smile playing on her lips as she teases him by biting her lip. Standing up to his shocked questions about seduction, she retorts that she might as well try it with a dog. Playfully licking her hand, she suggests that her aim is more to disgust him than anything else. With a mischievous grin, she asks about the taste of President Zhang. Provoked to the edge, Fu Xing pulls out a gun, asking if she has a death wish. Fearless, she uses a finger to lightly touch the barrel, daring him casually to shoot whenever he works up the courage. In response, Fuxing raises the gun, expressing a desire to end this provocation. Undeterred, she licks her lips sultrily, coyly mentioning that had she known he was anticipating her, she wouldn't have rinsed her mouth first. Seizing her hands, he hastily ushers her outside and shoves her forcefully into the car. As Jiang drives away, her screams fill the air as she desperately resists Fuxing's advances, insisting that he keep his hands off her. In a shocking move, Fuxing firmly grasps her face and bites her neck, casually remarking on her husband's impending return from his trip. Shaken, she accuses him of inhumanity. Sternly, Fuxing states that he brought her here to accompany his guest, not to plot an escape. Undaunted, she acknowledges complying with his games so far, but questions his right to dictate her navigation through them. Fuxing retorts that her family is clearly the only motivator for her compliance. A tense silence fills the ride until they arrive at the drop-off point. With a forceful push, Fuxing challenges her capabilities and speeds off, leaving her stranded alone to navigate her circumstances. In the next scene, Yan is hastily stuffing her bag, anxiously waiting for Yuanzhe's return in a few hours. Talking to herself, she admits that she has to leave for a while until the bruises fade. She seems sorry as she apologizes to Yuanzhe, knowing that her stay might drag him into her drama. Later, at a phone shop, Yan asks the receptionist for a used Fruit X phone and a SIM card. She sounds worried as she asks if it's possible to skip the ID check, offering to pay more for the favor. Back in her hotel room, Yan writes a message to Yuanzhe, saying that she has to pretend to be upset because her school suddenly sent her on a business trip. She sounds disappointed, explaining that she won't be able to welcome him home today. She then calls her school director, urgently asking for 3 days off due to an unexpected issue. Without waiting for approval, she promises to send in a leave application later and hangs up. Her phone slips from her hand, symbolizing the seriousness of her situation. As she thinks about what to do next, Yan decides to use her new phone to find out more about Fuxing's secret plan. As she's deep in thought, a video message from her husband appears. His sweet words pull at her heartstrings as he mentions how much he misses her. Smiling softly, Yan replies, telling him that she'll be back soon and teasingly tells him to keep missing her. Meanwhile, at Fuxing's office, Jiang is monitoring Yan's phone, updating Fuxing in real time. Excitedly, Jiang reports that Yan and her husband's messages are still all about love, with no signs of anything suspicious. Intrigued, Fuxing asks about Yan's usual location, wondering if she's always at the hotel. Jiang confirms this, saying that she hasn't left Dongjiao Hotel since she arrived. Fuxing, getting comfortable in his chair, refuses a cigarette offer from Jiang, explaining that it's just his preference. As they chat, Jiang notices something on his computer and quickly tells Fuxing that Yan has left the hotel. Walking in the pouring rain, Yan is deep in thought about the mysterious Fuxing. She's frustrated because she can't find any information about him. Suddenly, Chengbo interrupts her, recognizing her and asking if it's really her. Startled, she asks if he works around here now. Chengbo explains his recent job change and curiously asks why she's here. Keeping things vague, Yan says that she's meeting a friend and tells him to concentrate on his work, brushing off his concern for her. Yan steps into her room, finding it amusing that she checked into this hotel to avoid running into anyone she knew, only to bump into Chengbo. She wonders if Fuxing would stoop so low as to use a kid to keep tabs on her. And what if there's a bug in the room? Would her secret phone be discovered? Just then, there's a knock at the door. It's Fuxing, asking her to let him in. Yan glances at her new phone and has an epiphany. She tells Fuxing to hold on while she gets dressed, and quickly hides the phone under the bed. When she opens the door, Fuxing teases her about taking so long, asking if she put on makeup for him. Yan gets straight to the point, asking why he's here. Fuxing simply says he came to see her. Noticing a romantic movie playing on the TV, he jokes about her taste in films. Unfazed, Yan fires back with a sarcastic comment about her options, should she spend her days crying or take a leap into the river. Fuxing brings up her leave from school, noting that her bruises would need a week to heal. How would she explain this to her husband? Yan shrugs it off, saying she'll come up with another excuse. Fuxing takes her hands, suggesting they play their game again, hinting at more bruises. Yan loses her cool, asking him if he ever gets tired of this. Fuxing simply says no. Suddenly, Yan's phone rings from under the bed, interrupting their moment. Fuxing asks why her phone is there. Thinking quickly, Yan says it must have fallen and got kicked under the bed when she changed. Fuxing buys it and tells her to answer the call, but as Hien reaches for the phone, she can't help but feel uneasy, knowing that no one knows this new number. Hien bends down to grab the phone, feeling Fuxing's eyes on her. As she stands up, she bumps into him, and acting on impulse, knocks her head against his chin. Annoyed and a bit bold, she tells him off, thrusting the phone at him. If you want to see it, just ask. Don't sneak around like a thief, it's creepy. Fuxing grabs her face, asking what she thinks she knows about him and warning her not to get too confident. He storms out, slamming the door behind him. Alone in the room, Hien sits on the bed, surrounded by an uncomfortable silence. Her phone rings, breaking the silence. It's Yuanze. She picks up, asking if he's home yet and telling him how much she's missed him. 3 days later, Hien stands in front of her house, pausing for a moment before knocking on the door. Yuanze opens it, jokingly asking if she remembers how to get home. Seeing her upset look, he quickly apologizes, pulling her into a hug. He admits he shouldn't have joked about it. She tells him how much she's missed him. Yuanze notices she's lost weight and asks why. Laughing, she tells him she's been dieting. He frowns, telling her she doesn't need to diet. They start kissing, and Yuanze senses something's off, asking what's wrong. Instead of answering, she tells him to keep kissing her. While boxing with Jiang, Fuxing's anger and frustration are evident in every punch. He seems to be fighting off more than just his sparring partner, he's battling the resentment he feels for Hien. The next day, Chengbo tells Hien that he chose a job far from school to avoid crossing paths with a certain company. When she asks about his encounter with the secretary, he clarifies that they don't know each other well, she had just ordered from his restaurant before. Hien wonders if their classmates know about Chengbo's part-time delivery job. Chengbo shrugs it off, saying most probably do since he often shares work photos online. They discuss a classmate, Yujia, who once showed interest in his workplace. This conversation makes Hien think, is Chengbo being used by someone, like her other students? Could Yujia be involved too? Later, Fuxing texts Hien, asking her to join him at an event that night. In the car, he hands her a bag and suggests she change clothes. He also asks if she got permission from her husband to be out, reminding her of a time when she had to decline a dinner date due to schoolwork. Fuxing apologizes for intruding on her family time, but Hien brushes it off, joking that she should serve him as compensation. After changing, she voices her concerns about meeting 2 clients in one night, worried about overdoing it and ruining Fuxing's evening. As they arrive at their destination, a welcoming committee of staff stands ready for Fuxing. His brother, Fu Suiji, steps forward, expressing that he's been eagerly waiting for a day and a half. Fuxing instructs Hien to accompany Fu Sui. Fu Sui, holding Hien, expresses gratitude to Fuxing for taking such good care of him. He playfully remarks that even though she's with Fuxing, he's being handed over as if it's a casual exchange. Fuxing discloses that he brought Hien specifically for Fu Sui. Sui looks at Hien and says he thought she'd be a knockout, the kind of woman who could turn heads and have men falling at her feet. Hien's confused about why he seems to dislike her so much. With a grin, Fu Sui asks his brother if he can mess around with Hien. Fuxing gives him the green light, and Fu Sui turns to her to ask if she doesn't like Fuxing. She admits that it's kind of hard not to hold a grudge against him. Then Fu Sui gets down to business, offering up 2 ways to embarrass Fuxing. The first option: do it with everyone at the party. The second: do it with Fuxing in front of everyone. Hien wants to know more about why Fu Sui hates Fuxing so much. He confirms it but seems surprised when she asks what their relationship is. He thought she'd want to know why he hated Fuxing. She shrugs and admits that if she had to pick, she'd go for Fu Sui because Fuxing makes her uncomfortable. Fu Sui then goes on a rant about how all the women he's been with are tainted. Hien just laughs and tells him that a fly shouldn't be disgusted by a maggot, they both come from the same place, so why should one think they're better than the other? Fu Sui is impressed by Hien's way with words and confirms she's a teacher. He tells her it's time to make her choice. She takes a deep breath, downs her drink, and stands up. As she walks away, she can't help but think about the weird dynamic between the 2 brothers and why they've chosen her as their target. Realizing she's in a tough spot, Hien decides to take a risk. She boldly asks if she can borrow some protection. A lady hands her something, but Hien isn't satisfied. She asks if there's anything else, but the woman apologizes and says that's all they've got. Fusheng steps in, telling his brother to slow down and look after himself. Fu Sui shrugs it off, saying he doesn't need any protection. Fusheng isn't happy and warns him not to push it. Fu Sui pushes back, reminding him that he used to be more chill. Fusheng wants to know what the game is, and Hien lays it out for him. She's torn between the two options, her eyes welling up with tears. In a surprising move, Fusheng invites her to sit with him. Fusheng takes control, telling Fu Sui he needs to finish his studies. Fu Sui thanks him for the advice and tells the woman next to him to go sit with Fusheng and bring Hien back. Hien starts thinking of a plan. She wants to stir things up between the brothers and get Fusheng to step in. But she doesn't want to be the one to start the fight. Instead, she decides to go with young Master Fu. As Hien gets up, Fusheng notices his brothers had too much to drink. He tells Jiang to take Fu Sui home and make sure he's okay. Fu Sui reminds Fusheng that he said he could do whatever he wanted with Hien. Fusheng says he was just trying to save face. If Fu Sui doesn't appreciate it, then there's no point in continuing. Fusheng makes it clear to Fu Sui that people respect him because he's Fu Sui, his little brother. And they only do so because he still accepts their respect. After Fu Sui leaves, Fusheng takes Hien by the hand and leads her away. In a quiet corner, Fusheng tells Hien straight up that he's not interested in her. He says she only won today because of Fu Sui's antics and advises her to try something else next time. He warns her not to test him. As he drives off, leaving her behind, Hien realizes she left her phone, wallet, and clothes in his car. She starts panicking, wondering how she's going to explain this to Yuanze. A woman named Grace, who says she's the PR manager at Fu Chunyuan's villa, comes up to Hien. She tells her she came with Meiyu and asks if Meiyu is leaving already. She thinks Meiyu should stay a bit longer, but Hien lets her know it's cool, she prefers to head home early. Noticing Hien isn't dressed for the weather, Grace offers her jacket and suggests they share a ride back to the city. Once they're in the car, Hien asks to borrow her phone. She's got a plan to get her stuff back from Fusheng. Hien calls Fusheng and straight up tells him she left her stuff in his car. His response: "Come get it yourself." Grace, who's been listening, turns the car around and tells Hien she knows where Fusheng lives. When they get to the villa, Grace says she'll wait for Hien downstairs. As she's about to leave, Hien asks Grace if she can borrow some protection. Inside the house, Hien finds Fusheng watching the video of her. He jokes about it and tells her she can have it if she wants. He then pulls her closer. Fusheng asks Hien about the other option Fu Sui gave her. She admits it was to get intimate with him right there. Fusheng laughs and suggests she'd rather be with all the other men instead. Hien wonders out loud if Fusheng would have let her embarrass him in front of Fu Suiji and his friends if she'd chosen that option. She's worried he might have shot her on the spot. She also asks if he secretly wanted her to choose that, wondering if he gets a kick out of it. Fusheng stands up and warns Hien that this is her last chance. He threatens her, saying next time he'll make sure she never forgets. But Hien just wants her stuff back. Fusheng tells her to go find Jiang. Hien asks if she can really have the video. Fusheng says it's just a backup. Hien thanks him, saying it's enough. When she leaves with her stuff, Grace asks if she's okay. Hien tells her she's fine but apologizes for getting her coat dirty. She promises to buy her a new one. Grace tells her she didn't look dirty to her and even wore her clothes well. On the drive, Grace talks about how tough it is for women these days. She tells Hien not to hold back when something's wrong. Hien wonders if Grace thinks she's Fu Sheng's girlfriend. Hien remembers Cheng Bo saying he saw Yujia near the school. She thinks about the fancy car that picked her up, with the women inside dressed to kill. She suspects they were probably heading to the Chunyuan villa. She thanks Grace for her help, but Grace brushes it off. She says it's important for women to have each other's backs. Hien apologizes and asks for another favor, to keep an eye out for someone. Grace is curious about who Yujia is. She recognizes the name but can't quite place it. Hien explains that Yujia's family can't get a hold of her, and Grace suggests sending a photo would help. When Grace drops Hien off, they say their goodbyes. Hien promises to stay in touch and give back the coat she borrowed. Grace tells her not to sweat it and encourages them to keep in touch. Back home, Hien quickly changes out of her clothes. She jokes with her husband that her students are driving her crazy. She talks about how much trouble they've been giving her and how she's been looking for them all night. Yuanze gives her a hug and tells her not to worry so much. He says if things get too hard, she should involve the higher-ups. He also reminds her to answer his calls, saying he was worried something happened to her when he couldn't reach her. Yuanze tells her she should have called him for a ride. Tired, Hien asks to lay down. Yuanze picks her up and carries her to bed, calling her his great wife. As they're lying in bed, Hien asks Yuanze a dark question, if they could die together. At Fusheng's villa, Jiang tells Fusheng that Hien is looking for Yujia with Grace's help. He says Hien gave Grace a photo of Yujia because her family can't reach her. Fusheng says he knew Hien would do something, but he didn't think she'd be so naive. Jiang adds that Grace wants to be friends with Hien because Fusheng introduced her. Sitting back in his chair, Fusheng thinks about what Hien is up to. He wonders what game she's playing and thinks giving her some space might reveal more. Jiang nods, understanding what he means. In the middle of a university meeting, Hien's phone buzzes. It's a text from Grace, who's found Yujia at Chanyuan Villa. Hien quickly tells her to keep it low-key and promises to come over later. That evening, Grace leads Hien into the lively Chanyuan Villa. She shows her to a private lounge and leaves to fetch Yujia. Alone for a moment, Hien braces herself for the upcoming confrontation. Soon, Yujia walks in, surprised to see Hien there. Hien warmly invites her to sit down and relax, offering her a glass of water. She then asks Yujia if she knew who Fusheng really is. Yujia admits she didn't, explaining she was lured here by other girls with the promise of good money and school help. Only after arriving did she realize Fusheng's connection. Suddenly, Yujia faints. Hien quickly checks her over, pulling back her coat to reveal a red dress. She remembers seeing Fu Suiji at the villa recently on social media. She finds an attendant and casually hands him some cash, asking for directions to Fu Suiji's room. The man gives her the info and she heads off, knowing this is a risky move, but it could give her important information. Inside the room, a party is in full swing. Hien spots a girl sitting alone and pulls her aside for a chat. Fu Suiji notices Hien and calls out to her. Getting straight to the point, she tells him that if he wants to know more about Fusheng, he can find her at a certain location. She then slips him a note with the details and tells him not to call her while she is there but to ask around. Fu Suiji seems confident he already knows everything, but Hien challenges him, saying if he really thought so, he didn't need to meet her. She suggests he can take her absence as a sign he knows it all. Back in the lounge, Yujia is still out cold. Hien mutters about the powerful drug used on her. She fixes her hair, puts on her coat, and tidies up Yujia's dress before taking some photos. After a bit, Yujia wakes up, feeling super woozy. She freaks out when she sees Hien and yells, asking what Hien did to her. Hien just shows her the pic she took, saying she'll delete it if Yujia listens up. Yujia snaps back, asking why Hien's being so harsh when she's never done anything to upset her. Hien coolly tells her that Yujia hasn't upset her either, but she still helped others set her up. Yujia grabs Hien's phone, but Hien calmly tells her it's no use, she can't unlock it. Yujia doesn't care and smashes the phone against the wall, crushing it with her heel. With a smug grin, she tells Hien not to worry, she'll buy her a new one. Hien just thinks to herself that having Yujia destroy her phone was part of her plan. It gives her a break from anyone who might be spying on her, giving her some breathing room for a few days. As Hien walks down the street, she spots Fusheng's car parked nearby. He asks if she's there to have fun too. She tells him she was looking for someone and found them. She says she has some urgent school stuff to do, so she'll be leaving first. Fusheng and Ajing block her way, and Fusheng asks if she knows how to play Texas Hold'em, suggesting she join him for a few rounds. Not really wanting to, she goes with them to the game room. Another guy playing tells Fusheng that Xiaowu was about to lose his pants in the game. Xiaowu complains they're all ganging up on him. Fusheng brags about winning a golden belt in Thailand. He wants to keep his title looking good, so he asks Hien to come over and help him see the cards. As they sit down, Fusheng asks Hien if she knows how to play, offering to teach her if she doesn't. She says she knows a little. Xiao then asks if she's their new sister-in-law. Fusheng dismisses it as nonsense, saying that Ms. He already has a family. Xiao then says, oh, she has a husband. Fusheng reacts by pulling Hien closer and suggesting she sit on the other side of the table so they can start playing. She plops down on the chair, and he squints at her bundled-up look. "Aren't you hot?" he asks. She shakes her head, changing the topic to his chip count. He leans in, whispering he'd let her go once she helps Xiaowu win this game. She starts studying the cards, remembering the days Yuanzhe taught her poker back in college. Sure, he let her win most of the time, but she's confident she can hold her own here. Xiao suddenly shouts out that Fusheng has brought a pro to the game. The room buzzes with excitement. Someone even comments how President Fu's guest is truly something, adding to the game's thrill. After some intense rounds, Hien stands up, telling Fusheng she might not have won the last hand, but she's still ahead overall. She asks if she could leave now. Fusheng admits he was planning to let her go. Fusheng tells Jing to call Hien and ask her to come over. Once Jing's done, he reports back to Fusheng, adding that Hien insists on talking to him directly. Hien pleads, saying it's her birthday and she has a family dinner. She begs him to let her go this time. But Fusheng has another idea. He suggests they celebrate at her place instead and orders Jing to drive to her parents' house. Hien starts screaming his name through the phone. They stop near her house, and Fusheng tells Hien he's there. He gives her two options for her birthday, either she comes out or he goes in. It's up to her. She steps out, looking around for anyone watching before she gets into the car and shuts the door. Suddenly, he kisses her, catching her by surprise. She screams, asking if he's drunk or crazy. He moves closer, making her even more surprised. She insists this isn't the right place for this, and he raises the window in response. He tells her to take off her clothes, warning that he might rip them if she doesn't. As she does what he asks, Hien finds herself thinking about the mess she's in. She wonders why she ever thought she could mess with the big guys and walk away unscathed. Fusheng offers to help her undress, and as he kisses her neck, Hien wonders why he's taking his time. If it's not a big deal, why can't he just get it over with? Fusheng pauses at her calm demeanor. She isn't blushing, she isn't gasping for breath, her heart isn't pounding. He compliments her acting skills, saying he'd love to see her real reaction. Hien asks Fusheng what else he wants from her. He whispers back, telling her he wants to hear her beg. As much as she hates it, she gives him what he wants, pleading with him. As she closes her eyes, she thinks back to Yuanzhe, her husband. She remembers his reassuring words, his steadfast support, his love. Tears fill her eyes as she remembers his promise to always be there for her. After they're done, Fusheng tells her to take a shower. She says no thanks, asking him to take her home instead. Her family's waiting for her. On the way home, he tells her to be careful as she steps out of the car, warning her not to trip before she faces her husband. Back home, her husband helps her with her coat, asking why she doesn't quit her job. He worries about how much she stresses over her students, even on her birthday. She tells him it'll get better once she finishes her PhD. Later, in the shower, Hien thinks about the idea that things will get better. She wonders if it's true, how much longer she has to put up with this, how many more lies she has to tell, and how much more she can take. After her bath, Hien finds Yuanzhe hanging out in the living room. He sees her puffy eyes and asks about it. She snuggles up to him on the couch and drops a bombshell. She wants a divorce. Yuanzhe is taken aback by her sudden request, confusion and worry plain on his face. He asks her to repeat what she just said, and she responds by laughing. He's not sure what's going on and asks if everything's okay. She waves off his concern, saying she was just joking. It was a test she heard about from a coworker to see how a husband would react. Yuanzhe, relieved it was just a joke, gently touches her cheek and teases her for being a little rascal. He tells her that divorce isn't something to joke about. But Hien persists, asking what he would do if she were serious. He tells her that if she doesn't love him anymore, he'd let her go, even if it would break his heart. Yuanzhe reassures her, if she still loves him but wants to split because of other issues, they can work through them together. He believes their love is strong enough to overcome anything. The next day, Hien opens a new phone in the bathroom. She knows this one is safe from prying eyes, as long as she keeps it virus-free. She promises herself to be careful. As she's heading out, the director catches her and asks why she's leaving early. He reminds her the forum starts tomorrow and guests are arriving today. He asks her to stick to her post. She apologizes and nods. After he leaves, she thinks about how life is full of lectures, from parents at home, from teachers at school. It never ends. At work, her boss has a way of owning the room. You get used to it. One day, she's joking with the students, telling them to behave. She even jokes about trying it out herself and warns them not to feel bad if they mess up. The students apologize, and she's glad they're becoming more aware. As she takes her place at the post, she wonders if Fusheng will show up. Just as she thinks this, the director announces his name, and she spots him walking in with his bodyguards. She quickly decides to keep a low profile. She's behind the info desk when she sees Fusheng's name in the booklet. She realizes he's not here for her but for Fu Suiji, and despite herself, she feels a little disappointed. She worries what could happen if Fusheng sees them together, even though part of her had hoped he would come looking for her. A man walks in asking for Ms. He, saying her students need help with translations. She heads to the classroom and finds her students with an older man. As they start talking, He Yan and the men switch to Spanish. The students are impressed by how well she speaks. Then they switch to French, and the students are even more amazed. After the man leaves, one student asks about the conversation. They caught the first 2 lines in Spanish and the last in French, but couldn't follow the rest. MS. He explains the middle part was in Catalan, comparing it to Mandarin and Cantonese in terms of similarity and difference. One boy is blown away by Ms. He's language skills. They only knew her as an English TA. Another boy calls her a genius and a goddess, just messing around. Ms. He laughs it off, telling them it's not the time for that. She appreciates the compliments but reminds them to stay focused. Even though they're laying it on thick, she jokingly says there won't be any treats for them here. Fusheng sees He Yan walking with her students, and Jiang asks if they're still on for tonight. Fusheng says yes, making things a bit more exciting. Later, He Yan is at a hotel talking to Fusheng on the phone. He tells her to wait for him in the lobby, he has something for her. When she hangs up, she notices a young girl at the front desk asking about Fusheng. The girl says she's a volunteer from the convention center and needs to deliver paperwork. She asks for his room number and walks off, flashing He Yan a strange smile on the way. While waiting in the lobby, He Yan wonders what Fusheng's surprise could be. A new phone, maybe, with a tracker. Fusheng shows up, complains about the view, then sits down. He Yan asks why he called her there. He hands her a paper, saying Suiji had to leave the country suddenly. He's just the messenger, passing on the news about her departure. Fusheng adds that Suiji asked him to find out what's going on between Fusheng Xing and Shenjijia. He Yan says nothing, just thinks about how Suiji may be gone, but Fusheng Xing is still around. Fusheng asks what she knows about them. She's surprised but plays it cool, saying she doesn't know anything and only brought it up to mess with Suiji. Fusheng admits he thought she was bluffing. But now he's not so sure. Just when things were getting boring, He Yan shakes them up. Impressed, Fusheng says maybe he should return the favor. He tells her to think about his offer. But before she can answer, a video she wanted destroyed starts playing on the big screen. The hotel manager freaks out and orders security to shut it down. Everyone in the lobby turns to look. He Yan is sweating bullets, trying to stay calm. Fusheng leans in and reassures her, the video is blurred, the sound is distorted, no one will recognize it. But she's still shaking. She tells herself to breathe. To stay cool. After everything she's endured, she's not going to crack now. She calmly asks Fusheng to let her go. He's surprised by how composed she is, and admits maybe he didn't need to blur the video after all. He Yan turns to him and asks if he believes in karma. She says she's sure that what goes around comes around. One day, he'll get what's coming. Fusheng holds her face close and tells her not to worry. He jokes that if there's a day of reckoning, he'll make sure she goes to hell first, so they can keep each other company. With a hint of sarcasm, He Yan replies she's already in hell, just waiting for him to show up. Out of nowhere, the girl from earlier walks up and asks if Fusheng is from the Fu group. He says yes. She tells him she's a big fan, loved his speech on Innovation Capital, and asks for his autograph. Fusheng apologizes, saying he's not used to giving autographs. But the girl insists. She turns to He Yan, asking her to convince him. She even mentions their smile exchange at the info desk. The girl keeps begging, and Fusheng playfully says he'll sign only if He Yan asks. He Yan gives in, takes the notebook, and hands it to him. She tells him to sign it, and maybe even add something sweet for the fan. Seeing how excited the girl is, He Yan asks if she wants a photo too. The girl lights up. She can't believe she might get a picture with him. Hien turns to Fusheng again, pleading. As he signs the notebook, the girl notices a sticky note on the table. She asks Hien about it, curious about the unique design. Hien sees her interest and tells her to take a few if she likes them. The girl thanks her, and Hien wonders why anyone would be that interested in just plain sticky notes. After Fusheng signs the notebook, he hands it back to the girl, wrapping up their unexpected fan meet and greet. The girl remembers the photo and pulls out her phone, excited. She offers to show Hien how to use a beauty app, but in her enthusiasm, she accidentally opens her photo gallery instead of the camera. Flustered, she quickly tries to switch apps and apologizes for the mistake. She ends up showing Hien a picture of Officer Chen and jokingly asks her not to laugh. Hien instantly recognizes Officer Chen and makes a mental note. The girl recommends a specific camera app known for its filters, but Hien stops her, saying she's already familiar with it and doesn't need help. As Hien gets ready to take the picture for the girl and Fusheng, he suddenly asks her to join them. The girl insists they find someone else to take the photo so all three can be in it. They end up snapping several photos, including one where Fusheng casually puts his arm around Hien. Afterward, the girl thanks them and offers to send the pictures. Fusheng gives her his business card and tells her to send them to the number on it. She turns to Hien, offering to share the contact as well, but Hien politely declines. The girl apologizes for taking up their time and thanks them once more before leaving. Hien stands and asks Fusheng if he needs anything else, since she still has work to do. He reminds her that assisting him is part of her responsibilities. After all, he's a VIP guest at the forum. Hien keeps it professional and asks what kind of help he needs. With a bolder tone, Fusheng suggests something more personal. He hands her his VIP card and tells her to come to his room later that night. He likes things to be punctual, he doesn't enjoy waiting. Hien takes the card, wondering why a man like him would want to sleep with the same woman more than once. Fusheng says he's simply looking for something different. But Hien doesn't buy it. She asks why he wants others to look down on him, why he's acting like a brothel client trying to lower her status. Under his gaze, Hien feels a wave of anxiety but forces herself to stay composed. Fusheng admits he finds her attractive, but makes it clear his interest is temporary. He suggests she take advantage of this opportunity to get on his good side, hinting at possible benefits. Hien thanks him for the advice and leaves, feeling unsettled. As she walks away, a group of students notices Fusheng and starts asking who the good-looking man is. Cheng Bo teases that he'll spill the tea if someone buys him dinner. Eventually, he reveals that the man is Fusheng Xing, the president of Fu Group. He tells them to ask Fusheng directly, since Miss He is clearly busy. While the students chat, Hien quietly slips away to a secluded corner, visibly upset. She quickly calls her husband, saying she misses him. He jokes that she's acting like they're worlds apart and offers to come see her. He even suggests staying at the hotel and bringing her food. But Hien shuts it down, reminding him the rooms are fully booked. Her husband playfully insists he could try to find a room anyway, but Hien warns him that it wouldn't look good to others. In the end, he agrees not to book a room but asks if he can still stop by to visit. After hanging up, Hien spots a familiar face nearby. Recognizing the young girl, Hien quietly suggests they exchange numbers somewhere private. She tells the girl to leave quickly and not get involved with dangerous people. The girl wants to give her number to Hien, but she insists the girl just say it aloud. After memorizing it, Hien urges her to go home immediately. Later, in Yuan Zhe's car, he asks if she's tired or hungry. She says she just wants to find a place to stay. Yuan Zhe suggests they eat first, but she insists on finding a room. Without a word, Yuan Zhe pulls her close and kisses her. Inside the hotel room, Hien asks him to hold her tightly. But after their moment of intimacy, she starts crying. Concerned, Yuan Zhe gently asks what's wrong. Hien tells him not to worry, nothing's wrong. She admits she's afraid that one day he might not want her anymore. Yuan Zhe is confused, asking why she would think that. Hien hesitates, unsure whether to tell him the truth or protect him from her troubles. In the end, she confesses how much she loves him and makes him promise to remember that he's the only one for her. This only deepens Yuan Zhe's confusion, and he asks if she's in trouble. She denies it, but her phone buzzes, pulling her attention away. She assumes it's her boss checking in. Instead, it's a message from Fusheng, asking her to come over. She quickly gets dressed, telling Yuanze a colleague needs her urgently. She asks him to take her back to the hotel. While getting ready, she mentions how tired she feels. Her husband calls again, and instead of talking, she gives him a quick kiss. She reassures him that everything's fine, but reminds him she was already late that morning, and if she's late again, they might use her as an example. Back at the hotel, Ms. Zhang notices Hien is sweaty and offers to let her use the bathroom to freshen up. Hien thanks her and goes in. While inside, she receives a message from Yuanze saying he made it home safely. As she's sitting on her bed, her phone rings. It's Fusheng. He tells her he doesn't like waiting. She steps outside so Ms. Zhang won't hear and apologizes for the delay. She explains that her boss has been strict about curfews and that she's sharing a room, so it's not easy to slip away unnoticed. She can't just disappear all night without raising suspicions. When Fusheng stays silent, Hien tries to get him to understand. He asks who her roommate is, and she tells him, Zhang Xiaowen. She grows suspicious and asks what he's planning, but before he answers, he hangs up. Back in the room, Ms. Zhang lets her know the bathroom is free. Moments later, Ms. Zhang's phone rings. She answers it, clearly uneasy, and tells the caller she'll be quick. Turning to Hien, Ms. Zhang says she has an urgent situation at home. She asks if Hien can cover for her, and maybe help her get some time off. Concerned, Hien asks what's wrong and offers to help. After Ms. Zhang explains that she needs to return home briefly, Hien assures her it's not a problem. Once Ms. Zhang leaves, Hien's phone rings. It's Fusheng. He asks if she can come up now. She agrees without hesitation. As Hien walks to Fusheng's VIP room, she rings the bell and, as always, Jiang opens the door. She notes internally how Jiang always seems to appear whenever she sees Fusheng, as if the two are permanently linked. Jiang informs her that Mr. Fu is waiting in the living room. Stepping inside, she sees Fusheng at the bar. He gestures for her to come closer. Calmly, she approaches and pours herself a drink. Looking for something more meaningful than their usual banter, Hien asks if they can have a proper conversation. Fusheng, smirking, responds with a sharp provocation. What could a prostitute and her client possibly talk about? Unbothered, Hien proposes a game instead. Even a prostitute, she says, can play a game with her client. Intrigued, Fusheng asks what she has in mind. She holds up the wine bottle and lays out the rules. One person asks, the other answers. If the person refuses to answer truthfully, they drink. Fusheng plays along, asking what she wants to know. Without missing a beat, Hien hits him with a direct question, is he really Shenji Jie? Fusheng replies that she already knows the answer. There's no point in asking again. Then, turning the tables, he asks what else she wants to know. Hien taunts him, suggesting he doesn't dare to tell the truth, or take a drink. Fusheng offers another angle. Maybe he's not just curious about her. Maybe he's already in control, has her right where he wants her. Maybe he doesn't even need games like this to get what he wants. Every thought, every action of hers, is already within his grasp. Unshaken, Hien tweaks the rules. She'll ask the questions. If Fusheng answers truthfully, she'll drink. If he doesn't, or won't, he drinks instead. Fusheng raises an eyebrow, asking how she'll know if he's telling the truth. Hien replies with calm certainty, she trusts him. Surely, a man like him wouldn't lie to a woman over a few drinks. He tells her to proceed. Hien starts with her first question, how exactly did he lure her colleague away, and is she in danger? Fusheng explains with casual detachment. Her colleague's husband is caught in a badger game and needs her to bring ransom money. The trap was set on his orders. But, he adds, this isn't the husband's first betrayal. So is this really harm, or is it a favor? Hien downs her drink without flinching. Fusheng, amused, commends her boldness. She coughs and thanks him, her tone sharp with sarcasm. Next, she asks about his revenge. Will it affect her family? Fusheng answers with a smile. That depends on her performance. As long as she plays by the rules, he says, he won't touch her family. He prefers a clean game, one-on-one, no need to drag others in. Relieved, Hien takes another shot. As the burn hits her throat, Fusheng suggests that slow games are more fun. Don't rush, he tells her. She forces a smile, grabs a bottle of water, and drinks it quickly. But Hien has no interest in playing slow. She's here to finish this, fast. Hien poses her third question, inquiring about the potential end of their game. Fusheng responds with uncertainty, stating that he doesn't know when it will conclude. Just as she's about to take another gulp, he surprises her by grabbing her hand, declaring that this cup is his. He proceeds to drink from it. In response, Hien questions whether he lied, to which he counters by asking if she has had too much to drink. She denies it, claiming she hasn't. Hien persists, framing her next question as what it would take for Fusheng to end their game. Fusheng, with a hint of amusement, questions the difference between this and the previous query. Undeterred, Hien suggests a change in wording, asking what it would take for him to be satisfied with the game. Hien meets Fusheng's silent stare with persistence, questioning whether the inquiry is still unacceptable. Frustrated, she wonders aloud if she needs to rephrase the question once more. Expressing her genuine desire to know the answer, she admits to feeling on the brink of breaking, unable to maintain her composure any longer. Every day, the mantra that echoes in Hien's mind is a simple plea: just don't go crazy. Reflecting on her life, she recalls how she's always strived to do the right thing, even from a young age. She poured her efforts into her studies, maintained kindness towards others, and embraced a positive outlook, believing in the inherent goodness of the world. Yet, despite her virtuous efforts, she finds herself grappling with the weight of vengeance from Fusheng. It's a puzzling ordeal for her. What exactly did she do wrong to deserve such retribution? The question lingers. Suddenly, a realization strikes Hien, and she exclaims, "Oh, I forgot." It dawns on her that she did indeed commit a grave mistake. Recounting the tragic incident, she remembers stopping her car to aid a stranger, only to unintentionally cause harm. It's a haunting memory. She, who had never harmed even a chicken, found herself entangled in a situation where she inadvertently took a life with a knife. Night after night, nightmares haunt Hien's sleep, the floor stained in gruesome red. Amidst her troubled dreams, she starts coughing. Fusheng, by her side, pats her back. He remarks on her apparent lack of tolerance for alcohol in this game. She clutches her mouth, declaring she might throw up. Fusheng helps Hien up, urging her to get moving despite her protests of feeling terrible. Seeing how unsteady she is, he scoops her up into his arms, warning her not to vomit on him. But before he can finish his sentence, she does exactly that, apologizing profusely as she rushes off to the bathroom to clean up. In the bathroom, Hien continues to vomit while Fusheng, undeterred, removes his robe. He hands her a glass of water, advising her to stop vomiting and suggesting she rinse her mouth. Her hands shake uncontrollably as she reaches for the water, so Fusheng takes matters into his own hands, gently feeding her the water instead. In his thoughts, he curses, realizing he has never taken care of a woman like this before. Lifting her from the floor, he places her on the bathroom counter, gently removing her clothes. While bathing her, he instructs her not to move and stay still, but she persists in coughing. Concerned, he asks if she's okay. Calling his name, she asserts that she doesn't owe him, never having done anything to warrant his vengeance. Seated on the floor, he questions if she's not embarrassed to play this game with such a low alcohol tolerance. Playfully, he pinches her cheeks gently. Inquiring if she's pretending to be drunk, she adamantly repeats that she doesn't owe him. After the bath, he wraps her in a towel and carries her to the bedroom, gently placing her on the bed. Joining her, he gazes at her, using his hand to tenderly caress her face. Regretting his decision to let her drink, he moves backward. As he dozes off, Hien opens her eyes. The next morning, Fusheng wakes up to find Hien absent from the bed. Curiosity piqued, he begins a casual search around the room and spots her sprawled on the couch in an amusingly awkward position. As their eyes meet, he can't help but chuckle, prompting her to notice him. With a playful grin, he gestures toward the bathroom, casually mentioning that her clothes are waiting there. In a swift motion, she hurries into the bathroom and spots her clothes scattered on the floor. Fusheng, with a nonchalant air, suggests she could simply ask someone to take care of the laundry. As she bends down to pick up her clothes, he playfully questions why she's bothered, considering he was considerate enough to assist her with a shower, only to rinse out complaint instead. She retorts that she can't exactly venture out wrapped in a bath towel. Ignoring her protest, she stoops to gather her clothes, only to find herself suddenly lifted onto the counter by Fusheng. With a teasing grin, he questions why she continues to resist, reminding her that she came to reveal her vulnerability, yet seems determined to maintain her defiance. Acknowledging his point, she concedes, affirming that she's there to surrender to him. Pleading for a glimmer of hope, she looks up at Fusheng. In response, he gazes into her eyes, drawing her close and planting a tender kiss. As he moves in, she gently grasps his hand, urging him to reconsider. Feeling unwell today, she implores him, please, not now. With a teasing smirk, he questions why she's attempting to seduce him when she's not feeling well. The banter continues as they start brushing up, and he suggests that if she calls room service promptly, her clothes might be dried before 9 a.m. Prompted into action, she hastily makes her way to the room. Snuggled under the blanket, she reveals that the conference affairs team requires a room call before 8:30 a.m. Turning to him, she suggests enlisting Ah Jong's help to grab some clothes, explaining that she promised a colleague to assist in applying for leave. Raising an eyebrow, he questions whether she sees him as her lover or if she's attempting to exploit the situation. Undeterred, she stands up, prompting him to comment on her departure. Reminding her that the blanket belongs to the room, he predicts the service staff won't be urging her to leave in such a state. Defiantly, she suggests that his aim was to humiliate her, asserting that she's unafraid. Fully prepared for any humiliation he might dish out, she boldly removes the blanket. As she starts to walk away, he calls out for her to stop, but she continues. Unable to resist, he rushes to catch up and grabs her hand. Tears welling up, she confronts him, questioning what more he desires. In response, he tugs at his shirt, urging her to put it on. Curious, he wonders aloud why she's reluctant, suggesting she could opt for nudity instead. Undeterred, she requests pants, and he playfully points to a pair, quipping about whether her short legs can pull off the look. Once dressed, she declares her intention to leave, but he quickly points out that she's still exposed. Undeterred, she steps outside, and almost instantly, a voice calls out her name. The drama is just getting started in this exciting manhwa. What do you think is going to happen next? If you want us to continue, please comment "yen" below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye.